You get 5, 10, 20, 50 people sign that associate level promise. You got another 100 people that registered, didn't sign anything. Well, you got to have people who are going to follow with those who registered and didn't sign anything to make sure they get invited to the next event and ask them if they would like any further information. The people who signed the full-fledged pledge, you need to contact them and make sure they get invited to whatever events are going on. And find out what it is they would like to do. You know, at the bottom, the reason I got this out, at the bottom of the associate's promise, there is a little thing. There is a series of questions. Bring one of those with me. There's a series of questions. The first 3 questions focus on reparation for sin. Do you understand what the meaning of reparation for sin? Or do you understand what the church teaches about the body of Christ and the communion of saints or something like that? There are 3 questions that will tell us, you know, when we look at it, they're going to say, they're going to check one of 3 boxes. There's 2 on the scapular. I wear the scapular and have been enrolled in the confraternity. I need information on the scapular. They're going to check one of those. I pray the rosary daily. I pray the rosary sometimes. I need information about the rosary. They're going to check one of those. And then the first Saturday devotion, same thing. I need information about the first Saturday devotion. And there's a couple of other questions. One of those questions has to do with, would you like to see a Fatima apostolate developed in your parish? You know, yes or no. Are you interested in participating in apostolate activities? Yes or no. Now, you have to have, this is why I was talking about that committee, the Growth and Retention Committee, takes a look at registrations and works with people who registered and didn't sign either the pledge or the promise to make sure that they get invited. There's different ways of doing it. You can assign a certain number of names to a group of people, however many people are on your committee and so on. Then you have people who signed the pledge, and they have to be reported. I don't have to go into all the details of that. But then there's these people that filled out the associate member promise. They got all those answers down there. Now, little old Marie is not going to sit down with all of them names and be able to call all of them people. Ain't going to work. Even if Paul helps you, ain't going to work. You have to have a committee. Now, so what we're encouraging the divisions to do is establish a membership growth and retention committee. Keep those who belong busy, active, and get new members. Okay? So that committee. Now there's another subcommittee you didn't hear about yet, because I just made it up. Not just now, but I made it up last week. Because what do? Now you got this guy that signed the promise. And he says, I need this. You can pray every morning. But he doesn't know how to pray the rosary, he doesn't know nothing about the scapular, and he knows nothing about the first Saturday devotion. So, see if I can remember what I called it. It's the mentoring team. Okay? Membership Growth and Retention Committee has to have a subcommittee. I hate to sound organizational, but it's just practical. You need a mentoring committee. You need a group of people who are willing to mentor new members. What do we want associate level members to do? We want them to learn the message, to live the message, and to spread the message. If they don't know something, We have to provide them the information. We have to contact them. Telephone, email, whatever. You know, there's all kinds of ways of getting hold of people. Telephone is the best. Because, you know, email's fine for notifying people when there's going to be a meeting. But it's a rather cold medium. We need somebody to get on the telephone. Oh, hi, Susie. I see that you signed the new, you've joined our family of the World Apostolate of Fatima. And I see that you need information on the scapular, the first Saturdays, and how to pray the rosary. So you must be doing a morning offering. And you talk to them a little bit, and so on and so forth. And, okay, well, what would you like, where would you like to begin? Because what we're going to do with them is we're going to take them step by step at their pace to becoming full-fledged members once they learn about the scapular. So, would you like to start with the scapular, the rosaries? It'd probably be one of those two because the first Saturday devotion incorporates those things. So, you'd like to start with the scapular. Okay, well, there's two ways we can do this. Have all the information you could ever want to know about the scapular on the website, www.wafpdx.org, or you can go to www.wafgb.org. Between the two of us, we'll have everything up there. And if a lot of people will do it that way, or I could send you a booklet that explains the scapular. And then, oh, by the way, okay, I'll send that to you. I've got your address correct, right? You know, you verify the address now. And all right, I'll get that out in the mail right away. And why don't you give me a call when you've had a chance to look it over and you're ready to be enrolled? Or you can call me anytime should you have questions along the way. Okay, good. I'll send it. Oh, by the way, we're having a gathering. It's kind of a social thing, and you need to start having social just for the fun of getting together. Say a little prayer, eat a little bad food, you know, just get to know one another. We're over at Bill and Irma's. We're having not a meeting. We're just kind of getting together, and everybody brings a little dish to pass, and we'll pray a rosary, and we'll talk about the sewer system and you know, whatever, how to fix a leaky pipe. In other words, it's not a meeting; it's a social gathering. Why don't you come? You know, invite them to come. See, okay, good. Click. Out it goes, that little scapular thing, okay? Some time passes, you haven't heard anything. You establish a reasonable period of time, and then you call. What's her name? I don't remember her name.
Susie.
Susie! Oh, Susie! Hi! This is Deacon Bob again. Did you get the scapular information? Yeah, but I tell you, I had to work overtime, and I had to do this, and I had to... Oh, not a problem, not a problem. Take your time if you have any questions. Give me a holler. Boy, you didn't show up over at Bill and Irma's the other night. But
I fixed my pipe.
Huh?
My pipe is fixed.
Oh.
That leaky pipe you were talking about?
Oh.
It's fixed. I didn't have to go to Bill and Irma's.
Oh. Oh. Well, we're going to learn how to play canasta next time. I'm sure a lot of people will want to know how to play canasta, won't they? Well, but the point is that the mentor is establishing a relationship with the new member. The new member is being invited in anything that goes on at the division level, whether it be official or social. They should be invited to. I don't care how many times they don't come, you always continue to invite them. You get back at them, and then you call them the next time. Now the phone rings. Oh, Susie! Oh, you finished the scapular, you're all set, you want to be enrolled. Okay, let me see when our next enrollment is going to be. Now, this presumes, of course, that you have a priest or a deacon lined up to do the enrollment. And that's where your spiritual director comes in. And that's where we move beyond the spiritual director, because one man can't be all over the entire diocese, see. But you need to set up situations, you need times and places when formal scapular enrollment is done, and hopefully in a group. I mean, you can do it one at a time, but it's more cumbersome that way, and it's much more effective if you all get together and celebrate. This group, say there's 5 or 6. When you got 5 or 6, your spiritual director needs some assistance. We need to find priests and deacons who would be willing to do scapular enrollments. Maybe 4 times a year, maybe 6 every other month, or whatever. That has to be all be worked out. The point is that this is done in a group setting, where those who are ready for enrollment come, and as many members of the division come as possible to celebrate this milestone, this step along the way. So that's accomplished, and next week, hi Susie. Oh, that was wonderful, she says. I loved it, I feel really, really good. Well, you think you're ready to tackle the rosary now? Yep, I'm ready to tackle the rosary. Okay, let me send you this little booklet. Well, I just got high-speed internet. Well, would you rather do it online? Okay, go to wafpdx.com, whatever. You go to the website if you want to do that, or either way, you're getting the information about the rosary in your hands, and then she progresses. She's starting to learn about the rosary and so on, and you go. You bring her to the point where she becomes a full-fledged member. So this mentoring team, now, again, Marie, unless you can get some people to help you, you have to do all of this yourself.
That's what's been happening.
We feel hard, isn't that horrible? She's got to do it all herself. No, see, that's what we all do. Everybody that's part of it. Is there anybody that couldn't be part of a mentoring team and take 2 or 3 people, that you talk to once every couple of weeks? Let me answer that question for you. I'll answer it for you. Then you won't have to go to confession after answering me. We just had an election in this country. In the 2 weeks right before the election, how many people spent less than 5 minutes talking about the election on the telephone with somebody?
Merciful heaven.
10 minutes? 15? Anybody spend less than an hour talking to people about the election? Less than an hour. Okay? Point is, you talk about what you want to talk about. You think the election is important, and you're right, it is. The message of Fatima is more important, because the election isn't going to solve anything. Remember, politicians aren't going to solve the problems. Armies aren't going to solve the problems. Economies aren't going to solve the problems. We are going to solve the problems. All of us. Just like Mary told us to do.
Well, then we better pray that Cardinal George has a little chit-chat with Obama.
Don't worry about Obama.
You better pray.
That's what we're getting everybody to do. Politics is not the answer. Now, so, where was I? So, almost anybody can be a mentor, and you don't have to have it all up here. Where did books go? You got them books, huh? Everything is right there. You want to learn about the skin. I don't need one. Yeah, I don't need. You can either have this book or you can have the individual books that are in it. You can have little cheat sheets, whatever. I mean, it's not that. Explaining the scapular and explaining how to pray the rosary is not that complicated to do. And you do have time to do it. If it's more important than the election, and you spent as much time as you did talking about the election, then you can spend time talking if the election's over. We'll have to worry about that for another 4 years, if we ever have one again. But in the meantime, you've got time. Everyone can mentor someone, see? So the mentoring team comes under, organizationally or structurally, comes under membership growth and retention, unless you want to do it some other way. But the point is, there needs to be people who are going to contact the associate level members, help them progress to becoming full-fledged members, inviting them to all of the events that take place, and asking them. Remember, there was a question at the bottom, can you help out with events or with division activities? Some people might say no to that. Well, you can work on them, but you start out with the ones that say yes. What would you like? You know, when there's something to do, you don't ask them what they would like to do. You call them and you say, we need some chairs set up for an event. Or we need this or we need that. You know. So you have to follow up. And so the mentors are key, and really everybody can be a mentor. Thank you. Everybody can be a mentor. So, I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you a DVD to give you an example of the press the button type presentation. Anytime you're dealing with a group of people, if the people you're dealing with do not come to the conclusion that the message of Fatima is important, of paramount importance, they have no potential to becoming members. If they don't think it's important, they are not going to devote any time to it. So I'm just going to show you one example. There's a whole set. There's about 6 DVDs that we have at present, and more are being worked on all the time, which are presentations that you can take into your parish and make a presentation. We start with the division. The division will present, and when someone is ready to make a presentation, because you have to do more than just show the DVD. You have to explain and welcome people and all of that. There's obviously more to it. But this is the hardest stumbling block to get over with people who are not comfortable getting up and talking in front of people. What I have here is a 25-minute DVD on the importance of the message of Fatima. And then I know that there's another group coming in here at, let's see, it's going to be 4 o'clock when this DVD is done. And I think at that point, we want to shut down here, and those of you who would like can come back over in the other room, and we'll get even more down to nuts and bolts about how things go, how things can work, and we can continue doing that in the other room, because there's a group coming at 5 o'clock.
Actually, they're just going to set up.
Well, yeah, but they need my equipment out of the way and their equipment set up. Effect of the rosary right now might be to say, stand up and stretch. You have all been, we have gone on, we've probably made you sit a little bit too long and talked a little bit too much, and you're probably getting a bit worn out. We want to take a little break right now. It's actually 4 o'clock, and we were supposed to be finished by 4 o'clock, but I haven't said anything at all about the exciting conclusion of the saga of the Odessa Pilgrim Virgin statue, which is really quite exciting. I don't know, I will do that after about a 10-minute break over in the other room. The whole point, the point of showing this was to show you something that you can use in your parish at an event to impress upon the people the importance of the message of Fatima for today. Now, I'm willing to stay here for as long as anyone would like to talk. The bottom line is we'd like to see as many people join the apostolate and become active in helping to spread this message throughout the world. We're going to move over into the other side after about 10 minutes and go into conversational mode instead of sitting and listening to me.
Before you go, we'd like to, of course, invite you to stay, and there is more food and drink over there. And also, if anyone is able to, we would like to ask in your generosity if you could help a bit with some of the expenses of bringing Deacon Bob out and traveling around to the different parishes. And if you're able to do that, there's a basket in the other room by Our Lady's statue. If you can help us out with any of the expenses, that'd be greatly appreciated too. Thank you.
Again, if you want.
We're ready to...
Just
Come and sit around the table
So anyway.
instead of sitting there again.
Ah, good.
Sit around the table.
My folks didn't know. I read it
on the back side.
And I read the whole message in 1936. And that, I think, was when it came out, the message came out.
Come on the backside.
On the back side.
That way he'll be able to see your
Really
faces.
being promoted.
Well, I was about
Well, because, yeah, because
in the
it-
6th grade, I think, then.
Okay, go ahead and bring your food and everything up there, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
just
going
informal.
to turn off this water over, this burner over here, because I'm using a lot of
This TV real quick.
I can go see.
We're trying to get as many, same start to the Hail Mary. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. Jesus. Sacred Heart of Jesus, and back to the heart of Mary. Father, Son, and Spirit. Okay, something very strange happened while I was getting ready for this trip out here. We had a tremendously exciting trip to Kazan with the Odessa Pilgrim Virgin statue, which, as you know, if you were here at the event when Mike was here, is really the Russian Pilgrim Virgin statue, national statue of Russia. And I was supposed to have DVD with pictures of the chapel, you know, and all the different steps along the way with the statue at Red Square and everything. And the fact of the matter is it didn't get done, so I don't have it. But it is going to get done, and it's going to be sent out here so that all of you will have an opportunity to look at it as frequently as you'd like to. You'll have your own copy given to you visually. Tell that story. I will attempt, for those if you're interested in hearing, there's not a tremendous amount to tell you. The pictures are really what's cool. But we left on September 8th, and we went to Moscow. And if you recall, with the story of the statue, it was in 1951 that they took it, along with statues that went all around the world, and it was intended to go to be the Russian National Pilgrim Virgin statue. And they took it to the port of Odessa, which is actually in Ukraine, but at the time was part of Russia, part of
Yeah, well, part of the Soviet Union, I think.
Yeah, right, they were in control.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
And so they refused to let the statue off, and then some of the bolder, more adventuresome people that were there smuggled it off the ship, took it up, and took it into Red Square, wrapped up in disguise, of course, and walked it through Red Square. So, and then took it back, and of course, from 1951 until September of this year, it was not, you know, it wasn't in the country. It never had fulfilled its mission. So the first thing we did after we landed in Moscow was to head for Red Square with the statue as a public expression. And we've got pictures, you know, of her at Red Square. Now it's kind of interesting. We didn't get into Red Square because they were cleaning it up. They had just had a great big festive holiday of some sort. And so we couldn't get actually into the gates, we could only get in front of it. But here we were with the statue. We've got the Red Square is behind, you know, where the statue is, and you've got the pictures, and there's a few of us sitting there with the statue, and there she is, right out in the open in this country that the bad religion of mankind for so many years. And it was, I mean, just going there, we went under the street in a tunnel, you know, and carried her up. And we got there and we set her there and we stood there in Red Square, looked around here. And it was just, it was moving to have been part of that. So we finished up there. That was as close to Red Square as we were able to get. It was outside the gates. And then we took our plane to Kazan. And we got to Kazan. It was late at night. And my luggage got lost. The only one of the whole bunch, my luggage is gone. And we checked into the hotel, and then one of the first things we went to was to see this church, because you have Exaltation of the Cross Roman Catholic Church in probably as expensive a property as you can find in Kazan. Now, Kazan's over 1 million people. You're talking a big city here. And this is prime property. And here is this beautiful church built by Muslims and Orthodox. And as an expression of their gratitude for the return, for the role that the apostolate played in the return of the icon, protecting the icon of Kazan and its eventual return to the people of Russia. So here you've got the Muslim mayor raising money to build a Catholic church. I mean, it just goes to show, and when we talk about, you know, people of different faiths and the message of Fatima being for more than just Catholics, that's a stark reality, and it's a profound thing. Because these are the same people who built this chapel. These are the same people who participated in the One World Praying a couple of years back. And what did we pray for in the One World Praying? We prayed for life and peace. Two things that we have in common with them. Now, Muslims prayed Muslim prayers, we prayed Catholic prayers, and the Orthodox prayed their Orthodox prayers, but everybody dedicated, of all different religions, we have Buddhists, all kinds of people, different religions, dedicated a day of prayer to God, Allah, whatever they want to call it, it's all the same thing, for something we share in common. That is a profound thing for the world, profound implications for world peace. You see, the message of Fatima is connected with peace. So, we saw the church, and it's brand spanking new, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's big, it's blue, and it's hard to describe. You just have to see pictures. So there's a whole wing of the church that is ready to receive the statue when when we get there, they didn't have it quite done, but we did it in front. But I mean, there's a whole wing of the church dedicated to the statue. So then, we were on Russian television the whole time we were there. We were the talk of the country, that this statue came, you know, and its connection with the icon of Kazan. You know, did we ever succeed? I don't think. What we wanted to do, we wanted to take Our Lady into the church with the icon was in. But that's an Orthodox church. And if my memory serves me correctly, why can't I remember that? That would have, we must not have been able to do it. They wouldn't let us. See, they're not statues.
Yeah, they don't use statues.
Right. So, but she's right down the street, see, from the icon. And this little pastor of Holy Cross Church, I mean, there's only about 150 Catholic families, you know, in all of Kazan. He's from Argentina. He speaks Spanish. So, yeah.
And Russian too, right?
And Russian. But, so we took the statue there a couple of days ahead of time before the formal installation. And then they proceeded to show us various things within distance of Kazan. We saw and learned about all of the Orthodox, the icon walls and the procedures for praying, you know, in their churches and so on. We went and we looked at some mosques, and we also went to an island where that was part of the Gulag. You know, the Gulag was not a single place. The Gulag was a system of political execution camps is what they were. There were, was it between 50 and 60,000 people on this little island that were just murdered, you know. And all of the monks from this monastery. So we got a taste of what happened. I mean, first of all, you could see everywhere you went, churches. I mean, they got churches on every, it's like bars in Wisconsin. You got bars, 4 bars at every intersection. You know, there's churches everywhere. Great, big, beautiful things. Just unbelievable. And you see them everywhere. And then when you go to this island and you go through the history of the Bolshevik Revolution and the imposition of atheism and communism on the people, and all of the butcher, one of the buildings is still standing. And I had a nice picture of that, which I wish I could show you. I'm sure you'll see it, where they housed these people. And they would put them in there, you know, way more than should have been in there, for a couple of days until they brought them out and shot them. They were in a hole. There's mass executions. But you see, and we went down the Volga River to get to this island. It's in the Volga River. And all the way down there, on one side you look, there's a great big church. On the other side, great big church. They're all over the place. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. These people are really God-oriented. And then you saw this place that was destroyed, and you actually saw the ruins after the wrecking balls were finished, and the whole community. There's hardly any. There's a few people there now, but and these monks. So the point is that you saw what happens when people don't have God in what they do to one another, what happens to the infrastructure that sustains life. I mean, there's a practical side to buildings, plumbing, water, food, you know. Everything was dispensed. But now you see it coming back. You have Eucharistic processions. It's you know, the only place I've ever heard of that before is like in Mexico or in the Philippines, where the whole community, they shut down all the businesses and they declare a religious holiday. That's what they're doing in Russia. You know, And you've seen all kinds of things, all kinds of signs of what's going on. So this is so beautiful, people turning back to God. And of course, the Muslims never really turned away from God as they see him. And I found it very interesting to discover, I remember when the mosques started multiplying in Detroit. I don't know if you heard about that out here, but mosques are springing up all over the place. And everybody's equating the Muslims with the terrorists, which is a gross mistake, terrible mistake to make, because it's just a handful of the Muslims, the terrorists. But what I learned, we went to this mosque and they were explaining. And you know, one of the things that was interesting was you had this huge, monstrous mosque, like St. Peter's Cathedral, for crying out loud. Then you go to these other mosques and they're just little buildings, you know, they're shaped like a mosque, but there's nothing fancy about them, just small little things. So they explained that, you see, the Muslims have call to prayer 7 times a day. They have this call to prayer, they face east. The call to prayer goes out from the mosque. It's broadcast from the mosque. And the Muslim people are not stupid. They are susceptible to the same things that we are. We get busy in our work day. Remember when we had the Angelus? 6, noon, and 6? That ain't over too busy for that. But it's easy to get so busy that you forget about the prayer. So they have these 7 calls to prayer, and the call goes out from the mosque. And they believe, they all try to live close enough to the mosque that they could hear the call to prayer. When they can't hear it anymore, as the community grows, it's time to build another mosque. Just a small little mosque, but then they can hear it, because the women around the house doing chores or whatever's going on. That's why there are so many mosques, you know. And probably the most exciting, what was the most exciting? It was one highlight after another for me. But talking with the people who come, the Catholics who come to the church, and some of the Orthodox, and a couple of the Muslims that come there too. You know, sometimes they all go to church together. And the reason for the statue being there in the first place is to be the Russian Pilgrim Virgin's national Pilgrim Virgin statue. What is the Pilgrim Virgin statue for? To come and look at and pray to? Yes and no. Yes, but more than that. The statue is to travel around the country of Russia to attract people who will listen and hear the story of Fatima, learn the message, and begin to put it into practice Our Lady's requests. That's the whole point behind the statue being there. And I thought to myself, okay, the statue's here, who's going to do this? You know, so I started talking. Ran into a number of people who want to start a new Army division in Kazan.
Wow.
See, you start a Blue Army Division in Kazan, and you're going to have it spreading out. That's going to take some time, you know, and working it out and working it all out with the Orthodox, you know, is going to, you know, it's going to be a little bit of a different approach. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? You know, that's a statue it's the other one restored the church. You wanted to be patient, you know, with the Orthodox. Patriarch Alexei, when he got the icon, he kept it too for a while. But then he capitulated and said it should go to the Son. So he's soft. And that you know the dialogue. I mean, I'm sure you've all heard some of the dialogue that's going on and the Orthodox, getting closer and closer and closer.
Isn't the sign of the cross the only thing in the way now?
The only real thing in the way is pride, authority. That's what's really, you talk about minor little. Theologically, there is no difference. There are differences in manners of expression, you know, and so on. But
Like the whole
those are
Spirit
easy.
proceeding from the Father, they say from the Father only, and we
Yeah.
say from the Father and the Son.
Right.
Is that just semantics that boils down to it?
It's a little bit more than, but those are not insurmountable. Human pride can
That's the big
sometimes
thing.
be, because they would be accepting the authority of Pope.
Always speak.
It's interesting you should say that, because we had someone over to our house several years back. He was Greek Orthodox, and I was discussing the desire of the Holy See to, unite.
And there's a lot of protocol, and there's a value to that, and that's not a criticism, but he would probably go there. But if he were to go, if the Pope goes to Alexei, and then Alexei encouraged him to go, now you have, when the Pope goes somewhere, because of a statue and an icon, the focus of attention of the whole world would be profound. So many more people would come to learn of this story, of the icon and the Odessa statue and the message of Fatima, you know. And these guys from Kazan, they've gone to Lourdes, all the different shrines, and what they're looking to do, really, the ultimate objective is an international shrine that has Fatima, all approved apparitions, and I mean, just a big mecca. It would be the biggest center of Marian shrines in the world. It would be profound. And that was what an impact that would have on the faith of the Russian people. So, the pictures, I would love to have had the pictures, because there's, the mental images of things kind of stick with you. But the real importance is not contained as much in the images as they are in the reality of talking to the people and seeing how alive they are for God, Mary, and saying that maybe I don't know if you all know this or not, but Fatima was Muhammad's daughter.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting how she chose to appear at Fatima. There isn't anything that Our Lady does that doesn't have significance. That scapular, for example, she didn't say a word about the scapular when she appeared to the children of Fatima. And on October 13th, when Lucia saw her, she just, one of the descriptions she gave us, she called her Our Lady of the Two Cards. Lucy didn't know what they were. She saw, the scapular was there, and she thought they looked like playing cards. So Lucy, that's as much as you could get out of Lucy. Why do you call her Our Lady of the Cards? Well, because she had these two things, she saw these two things, and she didn't know what it was. Later on, she came to understand what it was, and when John Hafford went to visit with her, that's how the scapular became incorporated into, So even though she didn't utter a word, the fact that she had the scapular and let it be seen is saying something. It has a significance. And so Lucy agreed, Lucy and John Hafford talked it all over and agreed, well, obviously, she wants us to wear the scapular, and it would make all the sense in the world that she would want us to wear the scapular, because she did appear as one of the forms in which she appeared was Our Lady of Mount Carmel. So, Anyway, I could talk all night about the experience in Russia. But suffice it to say that I am, having made the trip, I am, first of all, I wanted to see, call me the doubting Thomas. I wanted to see and talk to some Russian people. I wanted to see what was going on, because you hear stories. Is this conversion of Russia? You know, I run into people all the time. Oh, the consecration wasn't done, you know, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Well, don't come to me with that. Because I've been there and I know what's going on, and I've seen it firsthand. That's one of the things that I did. And the other thing was the enthusiasm with which the people at that parish embrace this statue and the message of Fatima and their enthusiasm for now going out and doing something.
Did the women weep and weep and weep?
Huh?
Did the women cry?
You know, I don't know. I didn't see any women cry, but I'll tell you what, I was in a different state. I was the deacon at the Mass where the presentation was made and everything, and I was focused on, I was almost oblivious to people, to some degree.
Well, when I was there in '92 and we took Our Lady of Auschwitz, but luckily we didn't, but she was waiting for us on the other side. The women, especially, the older women, would cry. Like, you couldn't understand a word, but they'd be grabbing your hands. They'd kiss you because you had a rosary in them. You know, they'd watch. I mean, it was. See, I had, but it was profound. And the people who love the Lord, and we think that, you know, this communism has really just put the blanket on everything. Perhaps it has with the younger generation, but the older generation, who remembers.
Well, as a matter of fact, I was told, you know, I mean, I look at the younger generation, you look at the younger generation, you think, God, help
Their
us,
son.
you know, because of the fashions and all. But you have to realize that anybody between the ages of 25 to 30 over there didn't know communism. They didn't feel their lives. And they have been swallowing all the garbage we have exported, and they've migrated towards it. And the parents are in shock. The parents are very upset. Their children are going down the wrong path. So they have their problems, to be sure, you know. But I think what has to happen is the infrastructure of the church, once it gets there. See, the teaching of religion and everything is really difficult because the institutions were all destroyed. Now, as they rebuild and they get the schools going and the young children start to learn again, you know, I think things will change. But they figure they've got a lost generation over there. You know.
Were you on that original trip in
Yes.
1972 when the
No.
Odessa statue?
I wasn't on that trip, I was on the one in 1991. Well, after 70 years, she was back in the country.
That was with John Hefford. That's interesting.
And when I stood up on the podium with John Hafford and Lily Jordan and all, you know, a few of us up there, and looked across the square, there were the red stars. And to me, it was like that, other than all the communism, you know, the Lord
It's quite something. Paul, but those are the things that were important to me. What's going to happen now? And from what I can see, I think, like I said, the way I summarize it is to say that the nation, and of course it really wasn't the Russian people who spread these stories, that's the term that's used, it was the Russian government. The nation responsible for spreading the seeds of atheism throughout the world, which have taken root, which are swallowing us, which we are freely embracing sitting listening to everything under the sun, ungodly. That nation, the lights have gone back on, and the lights are burning brighter and brighter and brighter, and we're getting darker and darker and darker, and the day will come when that will be the light that leads the world back.
God's mercy.
It's just, it's profoundly moving. And the thing that is so frustrating for me is that this whole business that we've been talking about all day long is like playing old maid. It's like adding 2 plus 2. This is so simple. You know, the message of Fatima is so basic and simple. Why isn't it happening?
Because it is so simple. Oh, I can get to this tomorrow.
Pardon?
Because it is so simple. The thought could be, I can get to this tomorrow. I can put this off for a little bit. This isn't anything that's requiring too terribly much of me.
Okay.
So you postpone it. But we've reached a time where it can no longer be postponed.
Okay, I was just going to ask if you might, I think you're right on the mark. And I was just going to ask if, don't you think today things are getting worse and worse and worse? I mean, it's like Mike said, the buses starting to come at us at not 60, but 120 miles an hour. Worry. And do you think, how do you think people sense that?
I think they sense it, but I think they don't have the solution.
Right.
Because I think that, you know, we've had such a lack of Catholic education even within our Catholic schools. Our priests no longer, I mean, a Feast of Fatima occurs, not a word is mentioned of the day at my parish. You know, I mean, we're not really drawn from the pulpit into our mother's arms any longer, where once upon a time, that was just the norm. You know, so I am complaining to my priests. A, we need the Blessed Mother back on the altars. B, we need to be fed that encompass our faith, our Father, Mother, and Son. I mean, you know, we're just very remiss. And I am one Catholic that is upset by it. I think the priests need to shepherd us from the pulpit every week, every day of every week. And you cannot have a family without the mother.
For all of these years since 1973,
Yes.
for all intents and purposes, no bishop said a peep about abortion. During the 2004 election, 1 or 2. During this current election, I think it's upwards of 50 bishops and cardinals, U.S. bishops and cardinals,
Yes.
spoke out and pretty strongly. The majority of Catholics voted for Obama.
Yeah, 54%.
Is it 54?
Yeah, that's what I read.
Okay, now,
We were told 70.
here's what I'm driving at with that is this.
It's the culture of death in every way.
Huh?
It's the culture of death in every way.
Well, it is, but even though we had 50 plus bishops and cardinals speak out strongly, nobody paid any attention to them. Why?
Because they had the bishops' conference a couple of years ago that said that you could vote for a candidate that stood for abortion.
you know. So we've
Under
been
certain,
confused.
under certain circumstances, which are very vague, I've read the
Well, the
papers.
lesser of two evils, but it was confusing. It was a
Very-
confusing
The
document.
problem was the document was like 50 pages long, and by the time you read through it, you were so confused, you had no idea what it was really supposed to mean, when they could have spelled it out plain and simple. And it
Yeah.
was-
Yeah.
I agree
It's
that
great
the
vision.
teaching is rather convoluted, not straightforward and clear, but I think there's an even greater problem.
People don't care.
I think that because of the sex scandal, the bishops, the church in this country has lost its credibility.
Exactly.
Nobody cares about the authority.
When bishops spoke before, whoa, Catholics, listen. We listen to you. When did you preside? In other words, so they have lost, so even though a large number of them spoke out, people aren't paying
But
attention.
if they continue speaking out, which
Yeah.
is, I think they're on that path now,
Yep,
then our country will change, the minds of people will change.
right.
And so, I mean, we, as far as I'm concerned, it's a culture of death, but we're now getting a glimmer of hope. Because one of the bishops said, this is not how I believe, referring to voting for Obama. In other words, it's not the right candidate, Catholic, because of his stance on pro-choice.
I think-
So I think there are a lot of people, I think that the whole McCain, Sarah Palin thing has done us a world of good in making us think about what in the world is morality. What is the fifth commandment? Do not kill. I think that they are getting Americans now defeated, but still, I mean, they had 24 months or whatever it was to teach us a few things.
Mhm.
And you wait. Now Obama just bringing in this guy to be what is it?
Chief of staff.
Yeah, chief of staff. Well, you wait, we're gonna be in some bloody thing and he's gonna be assassinated and all of a sudden, Our Lady's message is going to take root and we'll be on the right track.
Well, there's, yeah,
I have a couple of thoughts come to me. What you were alluding to and what Tamara said the simplicity. I'm going to use the word easy, okay? About the message of Fatima and all that. I'm going to use the word easy instead of simple. What's easy to do is easy not to do. And I think the power of the Holy Spirit and true teaching with warriors, St. Joan of Arc's armies coming out and spreading that simple, easy message with truth by the power of the Holy Spirit will overcome the evil, overcome the darkness, cause the plugs in the ears to fall out, and cause the blinders in front of the eyes to drop. I also, excuse me, I don't want to lose the second thought. Hallelujah. I think it's so wonderful of what was said about for each person that is living the message of Fatima. We have these things. Learn it, live it, spread it. I love that. Learn it, live it, spread it. For each person, you said it this morning, you said it more than once. Say it again. For each person that is living the message of Fatima, that captures one who's living the non-message of Satan. But you didn't say it in those words. So if we can live, you scoop on it. Learn, live, and spread. Stop me there. Stop me there. Stop me there. The fact that you even came and laid it out so simply for us and so powerfully. Truth is greater than untruth. And you have God on your side, you're a winning team. Jesus and I, we can do anything. And now there's two of us. And now there's three of us. And now there's four of us. And now there's five of us. And it's an exciting time in which we are living. It is an exciting time because the only way is up. Okay, it ain't over until the fat lady sings. I'm speaking of the
our
election.
lady isn't fat.
I'm talking of the elections. Okay, the war isn't over. One battle was lost. But there's a lot more because those who have survived are the nucleus. Jesus had 12. Look at the whole world. We are few, but we're mighty. And we are empowered. And truth will win. And Our Lady said, in the end, my immaculate heart will triumph. And I believe that triumph started already. And it's getting nurtured a little bit more and a little bit more. But in the end, my immaculate heart will triumph. And 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 4, 6, 8, 16, and there it is.
So where that takes us.
We're on a winning team.
So that takes us, where that takes us is everyone sitting around the table here. Are you all members of the apostolate? Okay. Don't leave without becoming one.
Or an associate.
And if you're a member of the apostolate, I can guarantee you, you don't know the whole story. I don't know the whole story. Nobody knows it. We will all be studying the story for as long as we live. The message is relatively simple, but it has implications in things we have not yet thought about. But it is really quite very simple. Plug into God, you got juice, unplug, you know. Simple. The requests that Our Lady made of us, you know, what are you doing? You doing all 5? You doing 3? You doing 4? Well, if you're working on that forgotten request, what is it that you're doing? Right. What are you doing for the message?
Well, you're talking about it to Tom, Dick, and Harry, Mary Jane, and Sue.
Right. And but the end result is that if I get back to Green Bay, and 2 weeks later, Ree and I talk, and there's no more people carrying water from that side of the room to this thirsty guy
We're fired.
over here, then we're going to have to conclude, we have to go back to square one and figure out where did we go wrong here. Because really, quite frankly, while it's not terribly difficult to do, it does take the water. There is some work.